The good news is we're all in this together. And when we see we're together, we can work things out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and the famous Tom Fennell,
In the flesh?
Philanthropist. Good guy.
Man about town.
Man about town. He's not a philanthropist because he donates money to the opera. He's a philanthropist because he actually helps people. David and Charles Koch could take some lessons, perhaps. I wanted to start out with something that isn't in our regular plan.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'm going to put a picture up. You'll recognize this picture.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I corresponded with this guy, I guess.
Did you? I did too.
Yeah.
We had this picture up for Energy Week 2 weeks ago. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. And the article was talking about solar panels along the railroads in the UK and so forth at stations, powering all the trains. And this article was about a study that had been done by the Imperial College in London, which is one of the best research.
Prestigious institution.
Yeah, very prestigious. One of the best organizations of its type in the world, possibly the best, arguably. And we got comments on that, and one of them, Tom had said, where's the overhead electric lines? Well, one of the comments said, there's a third rail. There's no overhead lines, just a third rail. It's kind of like your O-gauge train set, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Except it's off to the side.
Yeah. And
I should have noticed that because it was then the New York Central. Now it's part of Amtrak.
Yeah.
Ran right by my house.
Yeah.
And they had a third rail.
Okay. Anyway, the comment said it was a third rail. So I looked to see who knows about this. Okay, and it turned out that the comment actually came from the Imperial College in London. And when I went to their website, they have a site there where they have videos, and the videos are lectures and things that people can go to, and Energy Week.
Yeah, we're on their website. Yeah, well, I clicked their website too because I picked up that message they sent. They sent it to you, and they sent it to Core.
To Core.
And she sent it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there it is.
There it is.
We also got
pull it up again.
Yeah, we also got another comment. I had talked about little computers, and somebody commented about the little computers, saying,
I wanted to know what it was.
What is it? And I have one of these little computers here. I'll hold it up again so people can see it. I have two of these things. This is the smaller one.
How can you afford them?
Well, this little guy costs $5 new. You know, it's got a square box in the middle. That's the processor.
Wish we could zoom in on that.
Yeah, it has a 32-bit processor, dual core processor, running at 1.2 gigahertz, with 512 megabytes of RAM.
For people that aren't really tech savvy, what does that really mean?
It means that it's about 20,000 times as powerful as the original PC that, I've got things falling all over the place. PC that, I shouldn't touch these things. The first personal computer that I had was, this thing is about 20,000 times as powerful.
I'll buy that.
Okay. And it cost $5. And I have another one home, which instead of having a dual-core 32-bit processor, has a quad-core 64-bit processor, and I bought it, and now for $35, and now it's what I'm using as my main computer.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Because it's
I
fast.
saw the darn thing, but I didn't think you'd
It's faster than my Dell desktop, and it only uses 2 watts, where the Dell uses 160.
I thought the Dell was using 5.
No. That's these guys, the Asus computers.
That's the Asus.
Yeah,
okay.
the Asus, and I tend not to use little computers for one thing, and that's Dropbox, because Dropbox, if you if you take something off of Dropbox from a computer, in other words, if you're keeping it on a thumb drive or something like that, and you remove the thumb drive, Dropbox will say, oh, that's been erased. And then it'll erase it on every computer that it's shared with.
That's not good.
No, well, you've got a month to recover it. But no, it's not good. Anyway, that's my experience. You know, somebody from Dropbox could call me up and say, we have a third rail. Okay. Anyway, we should get going on our weekly news, I think.
All right, let's start. This is going to astound everybody. Thursday, December 14th.
Yeah. By the way, this is all coming from my blog, geoharvey.com. And I usually give a spiel, but we're not going to give a spiel today, I guess.
Well, you already talked.
I've already talked through the equivalent of a spiel, but we've got a...
I'll quickly say, though, if you see anything here that you want to look up...
Go to geoharvey.com.
And click on it, and
yeah.
you'll get right to it. And some of these things are worth following.
And there's a calendar there so you can click on the date. This is starting on December 14th, as Tom said, and we have a picture of a natural gas ship, liquefied natural gas ship. And we have
Look at that thing. I mean, it's a tall, long, thin ship.
It's a long, thin ship with big orange
like
balls
five,
on it.
What would you call them?
Tanks.
Receptacles? Tanks,
yeah. 5 big tanks.
5 big tanks.
And this article came from a publication called Metal Miner.
Liquefied natural gas running out of steam.
Liquefied natural gas is running out of steam. Natural gas demand in Europe is down 12% from what it was 10 years ago. Chinese and Indian demand continues to grow, but the dramatic gains by solar power and wind, where costs have fallen 85% since 2009, have severely limited the prospects for natural gas as a power source. Now, this reflects what we were talking about last week, where natural gas was down in the United States in terms of the amount of electricity it was producing. So
yeah, it's the other side of the same coin, really.
Yeah, it is. And we're shipping natural gas to China using ships of that type. But I really wonder about the future of, I wonder about the future. I don't wonder about the future of fossil fuels.
It's not cheap to ship natural gas by ship.
Well, no.
And they got to liquefy it first.
They have to liquefy it. They have to hold it under
pressure. Which means you got to keep it cold.
Yes, you have to. And
refrigerate it.
There's liquid, natural gas is not easy. So
I guess hydrogen's a little bit harder. But,
hydrogen is harder, but hydrogen has other benefits. For example, if you have
it's clean.
It's very clean. You know, you burn hydrogen and you get water.
Yeah.
You burn natural gas, you get water, but you also get carbon dioxide and very likely other things that you don't want.
Well,
okay.
You've heard me talking about economics before, and this is it. Economics will ultimately dominate.
Yes, it will. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one here. Let's see.
It's from North American Wind Power.
Southern California Gas setting up a model energy plan with wind, solar, and renewable natural gas.
Southern California Gas Company is partnering with the University of California, Irvine's Advanced Power and Energy Program to design an advanced energy community. The community will be planned as a replicable model that optimizes a variety of energy options, including solar, wind, and renewable natural gas.
Well, the message here is it's power-to-gas technology that they're working on.
Yeah.
Taking
renewable
power, making gas, and storing the gas.
This is one of the things that's very cool about hydrogen atoms, is that you can stick them together in various ways. There's really...
It's a whole technology, isn't it?
It's more than a technology. You know, if you ask me how many different ways can you put hydrogen atoms into molecules, I'd have to say it's probably infinite. That's probably...
Is that so? Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, a polymer is you know, a protein. You can just go on and on and on with these things. And if you've ever seen pictures of the chemical stuff that goes into a protein or enzymes or whatever, these things are just unbelievably complicated molecules. So,
absolutely.
But it's renewable natural gas. This is not natural gas that comes out of the ground. This is renewable natural gas.
In this particular case,
Yeah,
that's what they're working
and if you have excess power from solar and wind, then you can use it to make natural gas, which then you can store.
And the hydrogen itself can be used to run cars.
Yeah.
You can get a hydrogen car in California right now.
Yes, that's right. Okay, you want to move on?
Move along here, yeah.
Okay, we're still on December 14th, and we have an item from Houston Public Media.
Moodys warns of credit impacts to cities that don't gear up for climate change. This is important.
Yeah. Moody's Investor Service is telling cities they must prepare for increasingly worse storms due to climate change, or their credit ratings could suffer. Lower credit ratings mean a city has to pay more to borrow money. The warning comes after studies showed climate change worsened damage from Hurricane Harvey.
So this is sort of a second-order consequence, isn't it?
It is. This is, you know, they're basically what they're doing is the city of Miami, for example, is putting $490 million or something. It's just shy of $500 million into
To raise the roads.
to raise the roads and deal with storm sewers so that the sewers don't back up from the ocean.
Yes.
And
That's a big problem.
It's a big
Miami,
problem.
right now as we speak.
The ocean is up several inches, and the roads are not designed for that. And what happens is every month, on 2 occasions, when the moon is full or the moon is new, the tides are at their highest, and at that point, the salt water from the ocean is coming up on the roads. You want to drive through it, you're going to be driving through salt water. There have been cases where water has been collecting in the basements of buildings where there are garages, and cars have been damaged because they've been submerged in salt water to some extent. And they're spending $500 million raising the roads and putting valves and pumps in the sewers. And Moody's is telling people, you've got to do things like that, or you're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. And when you consider,
And they're talking pure economics here.
they're talking pure economics.
If you don't stop playing games, it's going to cost you money.
That's right, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 2 years to the price of flood insurance and so forth. The amount of flood insurance, the premiums.
It has been rising rapidly.
But these
now.
hurricanes we've had are going to make
you
it a
know it's gonna
multiple of
affect
what it's
that.
ever been before.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we're up to Friday, December 15th, and we have
Yeah, we
another
got another
picture,
picture coming up here.
which is the Asian Hercules 3.
This is a huge machine.
Yeah, look, if you look at that machine and you look off to the left, you can see the red front end of a ship that we've actually had on this show, or one that we had on the show, and we talked about the size of that thing. I think that's about 6 or 8 stories tall. This ship is about 35 stories tall. When the one with the orange crane on it.
Well, I got some numbers here.
Yeah.
It's 5,000 tons.
Yes.
The hook height, that's what they call it,
That's-
400 feet.
That's the lift
That's
this
the
thing.
lift, yeah.
This thing, if you think about this, how much did a Fletcher class destroyer weigh in the Second World War? It was about 2,000 tons, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but I'll buy it. That sounds about right.
I think it was like 2,000 tons,
So it could lift
2,200.
two
It
destroyers.
could lift 2 of those things. You know, I mean, come on.
And it's going to be lifting these steel suction bucket jacket foundations. And I'll tell you what they mean, because I didn't know what they were. I had to
Yeah,
look 'em
but
up.
you looked at them. Okay.
And there's going to be 11 8.5 megawatt turbines. So this is a big project. Yeah, these suction bucket jacket foundations are very interesting. They used to mount, and they still mount turbines on basically poles that they sink
Yeah,
into the ground.
yeah.
These things look like a large upside down funnel.
Yep.
And they're big.
Yeah.
Okay. This crane drops them onto the ocean floor. They suck the water out of it. And as they suck the water out of it, it sinks into the
Mud at the floor.
muck. And that, as they continue taking all the water out of it, all that muck congeals, and it makes a very solid foundation for these very large turbines.
Amazing.
There's always somebody thinking of something new in this field.
Yeah. This thing, by the way, the picture that we've got in the article is from Renews,
Put the picture
which
back
is,
again.
yeah.
That is a big
That's a
machine.
big, big ship. The Boskalis Asian Hercules 3 giant floating crane has arrived at its port of Peterhead, ahead of a foundation installation of Vattenfall's 92.4 megawatt Aberdeen Bay offshore wind farm off the coast of Scotland. The 25,000 ton crane, now that's 25,000 tons is the displacement, I believe, of the ship.
Not the weight of the crane?
No, it's
a
the
displacement,
total
okay.
displacement of the ship, which can lift 5,000 tons. These, by the way, are metric tons. They're not. They're
Not a big difference.
1.1 U.S. tons, and install the 77 meter high.
That's 250 feet, by the way. 77
The thing it's installing is 77
yes,
meters.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Okay.
BIG.
Is that an acronym? Okay. Should we go on?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay,
Let's
we
go.
have an item from a publication called Unearthed. And this is good. I like this one.
I have said this same thing.
You have indeed.
On this show.
But it's Edward Davey now saying it. As
There
Sir
are
Edward
doubts.
Davey.
This is what it's saying. There
Yes.
are doubts about whether Hinkley will ever be built.
He's seen our show. He got this from us.
Well, Hinkley, remind everybody what Hinkley is.
Hinkley is the most expensive power plant ever built. It hasn't been built yet, Hinkley C. It's 2 nuclear reactors, and they're going in. It's an EDF project, the French state-owned utility, or largely state-owned utility.
But it's in England.
But it is in England. It's in Somerset, and it's not very far southwest, whatever, of Bristol. And that's a beautiful countryside.
I bet it is.
It just
yeah.
is
I bet
gorgeous.
it is.
But they're building this thing, and the price of it is absolutely outrageously high. It's about $28 billion to put in 2 nuclear reactors, and in order to get them in, they had to guarantee the price of electricity. But they had to guarantee the price of electricity at double the normal rate. And for the entire life of the nuclear reactor, and nobody in the UK would invest in it at that rate, so they went to Europe. But they couldn't get any European investors, so they finally got investors from China to put this thing in. Well, Edward Davey, well, I should read this.
Well, he used to be energy secretary. Well, read it. Yeah.
The former energy secretary who signed off on the Hinkley C nuclear power plant has told Unearthed, the name of the publication, he doubts the project will ever get built. Sir Edward Davey said the lower cost of renewables today means, quote, the economics have clearly gone away, end quote, from the project. Only a year ago, he said it was a good deal. I got news for you, Sir Edward Davey. It wasn't a good deal a year
Even
ago.
then.
It was a bad deal a year ago. Oh, but you know, here he is.
Well, what's happening with European nukes and otherwise is happening too. They've been beset by cost overruns and delays.
Well, but it's typical of the nuclear industry. It's really
always
kind of
been that way.
amazing. It's always been that way. And you know, if you think about it, you take in nuclear power, we've had a little over 500 nuclear reactors installed worldwide through the years to generate power. 500. Of those, 11 have melted down. I could name them if you'd like, but I'm not going to bore you.
Now, that's not a good number.
It's not a good number. It means that 2% of them have melted down. If you went to somebody and said, you know, I want to put in a nuclear power plant in your town, there's only a 2% chance it's going to melt down. I don't think you'd get many towns saying, yeah, do it. But what they, you know, I remember what they used to do, what they still do is they talk about the probability of failure of a reactor. And when the first nuclear reactors going in, they were saying the probability of failure was, in any given year, was 1 in 10,000. Now they're saying 1 in 50,000. 11 nuclear reactors that we know of have melted down. There may have been others.
A less optimistic than 1 in 50,000.
No, and that's not test reactors, it's not military reactors, that's just commercial reactors that have gone online to sell power to customers. And we've had 3 in the United States, 3 Mile Island, Fermi 1, and SRE. And Fermi 1 is in Detroit or near Detroit, SRE is near Los Angeles. Anyway, you look at these numbers and you say, how could they do this? How could that possibly be, that you've got that probability and this result? I mean, you're flipping the coin and it's coming up heads time after time, is kind of like it. And it turns out that if you look at the reasons why all of those reactors melted down, arguably it's always because of human failure.
Okay. Somebody screwed up.
Somebody screwed up. At Fukushima, why did it happen? Well, you can say it happened because of the tsunami and the earthquake, but the fact of the matter is it happened because somebody built the seawall 5.7 meters high, and the wave that came over it was 14 meters high.
Ain't gonna work.
And why was that? Why was that somebody doing something wrong? Because that same coast had been hit by a 27-meter wave in 1933. Not that particular location on it, but up the coast. And there was a 27 meters.
That's like 50 feet.
There was a 37 meter wave that hit that same northeast coast of Japan in 1896. Why didn't they prepare for those? Easy. It would cost too much.
Yeah, I was just going to say money.
Yeah.
Now let's move along here.
Okay, we're going to CNN for this next guy.
Picture here.
Yeah. That's a retreating.
I can't get it up. There we go.
Retreating glacier in Greenland.
Isn't that interesting? That is interesting.
Yeah.
Climate change just broke a NOAA algorithm.
Well, that's NOAA, which is the
National Oceanic
and Atmospheric Administration,
okay.
or something similar like to that.
By the way, this article here has some pretty nice photos about the effects of climate change in the world.
Yeah.
It's a slideshow.
Yeah. Data processing machines have algorithms judging whether the data is sufficiently outside the normal range that it will contaminate the study. Because of climate change, a weather recording site in, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but in English it's called Point Barrow, Alaska. It's the new name, Utqiagvik.
Something like that.
Something like that. I did try to pronounce it. I had promised that I wouldn't, and I inflicted it on everyone. Rejected all data it received for the entire month of November because it was made up of nothing but outliers. In other words,
well, the correctly observed data was not an outlier. It was real.
It was real.
Yeah. But this algorithm rejected it.
The computer said, "Well, this can't be right. It's too far out of the normal range." So it just rejected it.
For those who don't understand our jargon here, an algorithm is a formula or a set of guidelines that determine how to perform a task.
Yeah.
It comes from Arabic. It means a system of computation. And a similar word is algebra, which also comes from Arabic.
Yep.
And it's a recipe for baking a cake is an algorithm, as is a sequence of instructions telling a computer what to do. Yeah. Which is what they're talking about
It's basically
now.
A recipe.
A recipe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so what happened was you have a recipe and it says use only medium eggs. All right? Or basically only normal-sized eggs.
Okay.
And the eggs are coming in double normal size.
Okay.
So you throw them all out. And now how are you going to make your cake?
Good analogy.
There you go. Okay. I'm good at something.
Well, a couple of quick takeaways from this article. The Arctic is changing faster than any region. It's the climate.
Yeah.
And the temperatures in the northern Arctic now are several degrees higher than they were 2 years ago.
Well, one of the things, as I recall, was that they said that for the month of November, the entire month of November is approximately 8 degrees warmer than it used to be. And this is normal.
Yeah.
All right. But I want to point out also, in Vermont, where we are, if you look at hardiness zone maps, we're in a different zone than we were 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now, a different zone means 10 degrees difference. That 10 degrees is
Totally different gardening. Huh?
yeah, that 10 degrees is the temperature of the coldest night of the winter.
Which is going up.
It's going up. So the temperature of the coldest night of the winter determines what perennial plants you can plant.
Okay.
It also determines what pests will survive. Unfortunately, which is why we have
ticks.
These deer ticks, and that is why we have Lyme disease. Mm-hmm. We had no Lyme disease in 1990.
Well, haven't you said when you lived in New Hampshire as a child you never wore shoes in the summertime?
We didn't have ticks.
Yeah,
we just didn't have ticks.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened, I would walk out my door, I've mentioned this before, and I'd see the telephone line stretching between telephone poles, and I'd see 3 of them there, completely covered with swallows at the right time of day. My daughter, same house, came in and said, "Daddy, you should see all the birds." I went out. One of those was half covered.
Yeah.
When I moved out of there 15 years ago, there were none left. The swallows were all gone.
They went to Capistrano.
I have no idea where they went, but they were not there.
Yeah.
And what we did have was ticks. The swallows went away. Well, I know why the swallows went away. It's because the mosquitoes went away. We used to have horrible mosquitoes, and they were just not a pest anymore when I left there. I don't know.
Hard.
Yeah, the swallows didn't have any food.
Okay.
And you can trace all this stuff back to fossil fuels.
Okay.
At least that's my opinion. Okay.
I got a message, I think it was an email.
Yeah.
Somewhere I just saw this. Somebody was saying they haven't seen chickadees in a long time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
I mean, right around here. I haven't
the-
seen chickadees.
the-
When I lived in Warsboro, the chickadees were all over the place.
Yeah, I know. We've had a complete change. A friend of mine went up on Wentasticate where that fire burned.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
she said the trees that are growing in that area are not the same species as
what
the
got
trees
burned
that
down.
burned down.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about this in terms of wind turbines, all right, they want to protect those upland habitats. The
Something else
anti-wind
is destroying
people.
those habitats.
But when you say, but they're being destroyed by climate change, I don't want to hear it. And it's not just me saying that, it's the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. They say that they want to have refugia on our highest mountains because the habitats on our ridgelines are all being destroyed by climate change, and there's basically no way to prevent that from happening at this point because the carbon dioxide that's going to cause it is already in the atmosphere.
Oof.
It's bad. Anyway, we're up to December 16th.
Yeah, we got another
and
picture coming up.
speaking of birds, there he is.
There we go.
Isn't that a cute little thing?
That's a neat little bird.
That's a Wilson's warbler, which is in trouble, by the way.
Yeah, apparently they do come over to Vermont once in a while.
Yeah?
These things. It's
These.
a West Coast bird.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a West Coast
We have
bird.
goldfinches that are very much like that.
We do. A goldfinch looks a lot like that. I love goldfinches. They're the most, my son used to have me put up a bird feeder with thistle seeds in it for little birds.
Oh, cool.
I will recommend that for anybody. Those little birds are so cute. They line up and they stand in line waiting for each one of them for the one before to get through its eating. Yeah, they're just so polite. Anyway, this is from KTVZ.
And what it says is an OSU study, and we'll find out what that is. Complex old-growth forests can protect some birds in a warming climate.
Isn't this interesting? In a paper published Friday, that was previous Friday, in Diversity and Distributions, a professional journal, researchers found in the College of Forestry at Oregon State University, OSU, reported that the more sensitive a bird species is to rising temperatures during the breeding season, the more likely it is to be affected positively by being near old-growth forest.
Well, it makes a certain amount of sense because the old-growth forests have a lot of large trees.
Yep.
And there's a diversities of tree species.
Right.
Okay, and there's multiple canopy layers to protect the birds.
Yeah.
So that's sensible.
You know, this is something, but basically one of the things that it says is if you've got old growth forests, probably a very good thing to keep it as old growth forest. Although
probably
the forest management is not so simple that you can just say, I'm not going to do anything with that.
You still have to manage it.
You still have to manage it. There was a wonderful attempt to have a permanent old growth forest in New Jersey. Somebody put it in a will that this piece of property would never be touched. And
GOP includes a BEAT fix, B-E-A-T.
yeah,
Drops nuclear credits in the tax bill. By the way, it's a nice long article. If you like to read about tax bills, this gives you a lot of information about
there's
it.
very little in this world I would rather avoid.
Oh, what BEAT stands for is Base Erosion Anti-Abuse Tax.
Yeah, and you know what that says to me? There's jargon in this that is not comprehensible. Congressional Republicans, even to them, Congressional Republicans released the text of a tax proposal that includes incentives for electric vehicles and wind power. Still includes those incentives, as well as a fix to the so-called BEAT provision critical to renewable energy. Nuclear tax credits, however, were excluded from the bill. The legislation combines bills passed by the House and Senate. By the way, this has gone back. It's been renegotiated. It's gone back to the House and the Senate. It's been signed by both.
With it, aren't they?
They may be. The House is done with it. I think the Senate passed it yesterday. I don't know what other alterations have to be done.
So now they have to combine the two
No,
bills?
they're already done with the combination. It's going to the president, I
So
believe.
he's definitely going to sign
He's going to sign it. They're all feeling very good and taking credit. And I don't know
What
how
did
many.
he call it, a giant Christmas present?
Something. But, you know, for all those people who are interested in astrology, I will tell you this was signed with Mercury retrograde.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. But nevertheless, you know, astrologers and many, many other people who know what that means will appreciate knowing that the tax bill is probably doomed to failure because of the stars.
Well,
Okay.
I got a couple of notes here. This BEAT, Base Erosion Anti-Abuse Tax, is a provision that wind and solar companies said could prevent them from monetizing tax credits.
Yes.
So that's going to hurt them economically.
It would, but they fixed it.
The original bill had provisions to cut the wind production tax credit and a federal tax incentive for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So this is not really, how would you say, renewables friendly, is it?
No, it was not, and it's been fixed to a degree, but the people who were opposed to those provisions and are maybe feeling good about the fact that they were altered, but they're still unhappy about the bill. Our next item is CleanTechnica.
Well, we got a picture
We have
coming
a
up
picture here, and
I'll
this
bring
is
it up.
not a pretty picture.
Unfortunately, the link that you gave me only brings up the picture.
Only brings up, oh no, oh no.
But I searched around it and I found the article.
Yeah,
Take a quick look at that picture while it's up, though. It shows earthquakes in Texas. It's only in Texas, really. Well, the map on the left is the entire United States. But where it is red, corresponding to the hockey stick curve there,
yeah.
that's where there have been earthquakes that they never had before.
Well, and the curve that you see there is almost a straight blue line up until 2010. That is an accumulated number. So
Okay, it means that they've been steady.
It means they've been steady. You have about the same amount going in every year, and so you would expect a growth line that would be a line. It would be linear, and then what happens at the end of that is you hit into this area where all of a sudden everything turns red and it just goes through the roof. Well, here's the reason. The Journal of Science Advances released a report called Discriminating Between Natural versus Induced Seismicity from Long-Term Deformation History of Intraplate Faults, end quote, that's the title, which addresses the cause of unnatural, does that mean like supernatural, ghostly? Number of earthquakes that hit Texas in the past decade. The authors suggest activities associated with fracking as a cause. Well, we already know from the USGA that fracking has caused at least some of the increased earthquakes in Oklahoma.
I was just going to mention that. We've talked about it on the show.
And Oklahoma has more earthquakes now than California, which is not only very much bigger, but is right on these fault zones.
Well, what this article says is since 2009, earthquake activity in the central U.S. has increased markedly.
Yes.
As we have just said, and numerous publications suggest that this increase is primarily due to induced earthquakes caused by deep well injection of wastewater.
Yep. That's what it is. Okay. I guess we should move on. We've got an item here on Sunday, December 17th from Jefferson Public
closer
Radio.
to home here, huh?
Yeah.
Hampshire College. Well, we talked about this one already, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's right down here in Springfield.
Yes.
Holyoke, somewhere
Holyoke.
like that.
Yeah.
Hampshire
Amherst.
College goes 100% solar.
Ha! Hundreds of U.S. colleges and universities are taking action to combat global warming, but so far just one residential college has turned 100% to renewable energy, Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts. The college has installed a 19-acre solar farm with 15,000 panels and a capacity of about 4.7 megawatts of power. I don't think it's powered by 4.7 megawatts. I think they're getting other renewable energy elsewhere. But they have done some amazing
Well, the article
things.
said it was 4.7 megawatts.
No, I mean, I think they're using more than the 4.7.
Oh, the colleges.
Yeah.
I think it. I think I got a note about that.
Oh, did you?
Anyhow, 19 acres sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah.
Basically, they just built roofs over their parking lots. They did, really.
Yes.
And they put the solar panels on top of the roofs.
Yeah.
Which is a double thing, because now in the wintertime, you don't have to park in the snow.
Yeah, and if you were like in a place where I used to work, you wouldn't have to worry about seagulls dropping clams on your car top.
Well, it says the college will buy all the power coming from the panels, which suggests they use more than that.
Yeah.
At a little over 6 cents a kilowatt hour.
Which is cheaper by far.
Well, from the grid, they're paying 13.5 cents. 6 cents
They're
versus
saving a little
13.5.
money. Okay.
And Solar City, the contractor here, also provided the school with a bank of Tesla batteries to store up the power.
Yep. Well,
And over the life of the solar farm, which is 25 years, they're expecting to save $8 to $10 million.
yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Our next item is from CleanTechnica.
Oh, we got a nice picture coming up here.
Yep. This, by the way, this article is about Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Well, that's not a Buck Rogers transformer. That's real.
Yeah, I know.
That's a very high voltage transformer, too.
Very high voltage.
Look at the size of those
I learned
insulators.
some stuff reading this article.
There's a man down there in the bottom,
Yep.
and look at the size of those insulators.
Yeah, they're kind of big.
They are large. Well, let's find out about it.
Yeah.
Tesla versus Tesla. The juice in your car will increasingly come through high voltage DC, which was Edison's preferred current.
This is partially a Thomas Edison versus Nikola Tesla story. Edison was committed to direct current, but Tesla liked alternating current. Edison did some ugly things to try to win the fight, including, by the way, as I recall, electrocuting an elephant.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he was pretty nasty there.
He lost. Now the world is moving his way. Fortunately, not to electrocuting elephants.
Well, there was a good reason why he lost. You couldn't
Step up and down voltage.
You couldn't move DC over large distances.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was you couldn't step it up and step it down.
Right.
It wouldn't work in a transformer.
Right.
And along came the transformers and made high voltage AC transmission a likelihood,
Right.
which we lived with for 100 years.
Yep.
That's changing now.
Yeah.
There's some solid state electronic transformers now that'll transform DC. And for various reasons, it's more economical to transmit via DC.
The reasons here are really interesting. AC power, just one example. AC power doesn't like traveling through a copper wire. It likes
sticks to the outside of it.
It sticks to the outside of it. DC power doesn't care.
Right.
So with AC wire, that's you want to have wire that's braided or something in order to have lots and lots of surface. And with DC wire, you can just have a solid cable. And when you think about that in terms of, you know, like the submarine cables and so forth, it means that it becomes very much simpler. Well,
There's another thing going on. With AC, you got like 600,000 volts.
yeah,
With DC, you got plus 600,000 volts, and minus 600,000 volts equals 700,000 volts.
yeah,
So
okay,
you're getting twice as much power.
okay. I don't understand that, but that's okay. I'll accept your explanation.
This is an interesting takeaway here.
Yeah.
China's State Grid Corporation has seriously put forward the idea of building a global HVDC grid to tie all of the wind and solar power in the world together by 2050.
Amazing. And they'll probably do it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet against it. The potential for low-loss, long-distance movement of electricity is enormous. The larger the grid, the less storage will be required.
Well, you know, in 1995 or 1996, the US DOE published a thing about distances at which you could publish the line loss and distances at which you could feasibly, in terms of finances, transmit power. And what they said was it was not economically feasible to transmit AC power distances greater than 2,500 miles.
I didn't even think it was that much.
Yeah,
but
but
okay.
the-
Yeah,
but-
there's a definite limit.
There's a limit. Well, this is a lot more than it was 10 years earlier. And for DC power, they said 4,000 miles. Now, we have better systems now than we had then. And you know, basically at this point, if you're talking about high voltage DC and you're using the correct kinds of lines, you could generate power anywhere in the world and deliver it anywhere in the world and have it be economically
We've reached that point now.
feasible.
We definitely have
So
reached that point.
we could get our power from wind turbines in Tierra del Fuego or, you know, whatever.
Well, ultimately, we're going to have our wind turbines where the wind is best.
That's right.
I mean, it's just going to make sense.
Yep. We
So-
have to move on, Tom.
Yeah, let's move on
We're
here.
getting behind here, I think. Our next item is from San Francisco Bayview.
Soaring, this is scary.
This is.
Soaring thyroid cancer rates north of New York City may be caused by Indian Point nuke plant emissions.
The rate of new thyroid cancer cases in 4 counties just north of New York City, which was 22% below the U.S. average rate in the late 1970s, is now 53% above the U.S. rate, a study has concluded. The Indian Point nuclear plant may be to blame. A study co-author said, quote, "The only known cause of thyroid cancer is exposure to radioactivity," end quote.
Well, they're suggesting in this article the change may be a result of airborne emissions of radioactive iodine from the 2 reactors.
Well, if that's happening, then something's going wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, they are not supposed to
it
be doing
shouldn't
that.
be escaping.
No, it should not be escaping.
And
And
when Yankee was here, didn't they give you iodine pills just in case?
yeah, to protect the thyroid. Although there's whether that would work for people is a kind of up in the air. They were saying that if you're over a certain age, and it's not that old, it's like 40 years, they won't help you. And it's really for pregnant women and children more than anything else. And basically, it gives you a little bit of protection for a short period of time.
Well, hasn't Indian Point been scheduled to close in about 4 or 5 years?
Indian Point is scheduled to close, as I understand it.
Yeah,
Whether it's actually formally scheduled to close, I don't know.
I think it is. I think it's 2021 or
Yeah.
2022, something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Well, we'll move along here.
we have an item from Press of Atlantic City, still December 17th.
Experts alarmed at the CDC ban on words fetus and transgender. Huh?
Health leaders say they are alarmed about a report that officials at the CDC are being told not to use certain terms in official budget documents, including fetus. You're not allowed to say fetus. This is the Center for Disease Control, and it's not allowed to say fetus. Transgender and science-based.
Can't use that.
climate change is just one of several topics on which federal agencies have downscaled data collection since President Trump took office. And by the way, President Trump has told the national security people that they're not allowed to say climate change anymore.
Yeah, we've talked about that, yeah.
All right, so it's going to go away because we don't talk about it, right?
Exactly, right. There's something funny about this that I have to just talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's 7 words in this group.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not going to name all of them, but the 7 words brings me back to a time in the past when I was driving through Connecticut,
Yes.
listening to the radio, and something came up on the radio about a guy I had never heard of before called George Carlin. And the shtick was 7 words you're not allowed to say on television.
Yes.
And I was laughing so hard, I had to stop the car. Little sideline here, too, is I went to high school with George Carlin, but I didn't know him. It was a large school.
I went to high school with Ted Danson, and I did know him, but I haven't talked with him for years. What can I say?
Well, let us move along here
Yes,
to
let's
Monday,
do that.
December 18th.
Yeah, we have an
And
item
we got a
from
picture
Bloomberg Quint, and that picture is a
Bloomberg's
picture
all
of,
over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Wildpolsried, and Wildpolsried is a village in southern Germany, which
Pretty village.
produces 8 times as much electric power as it uses, and has become
It's horrible with all those turbines.
Yeah, terrible.
God.
It is the headquarters of Sonnen Battery, which is one of the biggest battery companies in the world, which was founded there.
Oh, okay, we've heard about them.
Yep,
Yeah.
got a title for this?
Old coal is king, even with new renewables record in Germany. That needs explanation.
Yeah, for all the new wind park solar farms and hydro plants, and it reminds me of the spiel, guaranteed not to ruffle up, duffle up, shrink, stink, wear, tear, rust, bust, or boil over. When used in accordance with manufacturer's instructions, one copy of which is included free in every carload. For all the new wind parks, solar farms, and hydro plants that will help Germany generate yet another renewable energy record this year, the world's dirtiest power fuel still sets the price for how much factories are paying for electricity. The average German day-ahead power price is expected to rise this year for the first time since 2011.
It's a little bit weird, but that just happens to be the way their market works.
Yeah, it is.
And after they have, how do I say this? After they've chosen all of the power that they know they're going to need, the next thing in line that they have to pay power for sets the price.
Yep.
And that's coal.
Yeah.
They don't even have to buy coal for the coal to be setting the price.
We don't have enough time for all the stuff we've got left, Tom, so let's get as much as we can.
Well, that's Monday, and we got 11 minutes left.
Yeah.
So.
Next from Callanish Energy.
NERC, we'll find out what that is, says natural gas renewables can sub for nukes and coal.
Energy Secretary Rick Perry's proposal to subsidize coal and nuclear plants to ensure the grid reliability got a response from the North American Electric Reliability Corp. NERC.
That's NERC.
Its 2017 long-term reliability assessment said renewable energy and natural gas could match conventional generators for important metrics in reliability.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay. From the BBC.
Okay.
This is worrisome.
Do I have? No, I don't have a picture. It's the
No,
next
there's
one.
no picture.
Russia's Rosneft wins gas licenses in Venezuela.
Venezuela awarded licenses to Russian energy giant Rosneft to develop 2 offshore gas fields in the Caribbean Sea. The deal, which allows a subsidiary to export gas from the fields for the next 30 years, still needs final official approval before production begins. Russia is a close ally of Venezuela and seeks to expand its influence in Latin America. And this is what's happening. Russia is expanding in Latin America.
So
China is expanding in Latin America and the Caribbean. Both of these countries are expanding their influence because the United States is acting in an isolationist manner. And this is something that any real conservative would have a fit over. But the so-called conservatives we've got in Washington, D.C. think it's just dandy.
Well, this Rosneft is the state-owned Russian energy giant.
Yep.
And they are involved in a number of joint projects in South America,
Yeah.
just as you just said.
Yeah.
Got
Okay.
a picture coming up here.
We are up to Tuesday, December 19th, and that is a Rio Tinto autonomous truck you're looking at.
That's a hell of a big truck.
Well, look at the front of that thing. It's got stairs going up. You got to climb a ladder to get to those stairs. Then the stairs go up to a bridge on the second floor
ship.
level. It's like a ship. And there's an operator's cabin over on the what is the left side of the truck, looking forward, right side of our picture. And this thing is huge. I'm going to guess that the average American sedan's roof would be at about the level of this thing's axle. But
I
anyway,
bet it's lower than that even.
yeah, CleanTechnica.
Rio Tinto expanding autonomous truck fleet in Australia as
This is
part
not-
of cost-cutting measures. So some of these trucks
Are already
don't
in
even
use.
have a driver.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're already being used. One of the top mining firms in the world, Rio Tinto, has been operating a fleet of autonomous trucks in various parts of Australia. Building on these earlier and current deployments, the company is now planning a large increase in the size of its autonomous truck fleet in Australia's Pilbara iron ore region as a cost-cutting program.
Well, this has been successful. Last
Yep.
year, each of its autonomous trucks operated an additional 1,000 hours and at 15% lower load and haul unit cost than conventional vehicles.
Why would you have people drive them if you can do it at a lower cost?
Well, I think they've answered that. They're
Yeah.
buying more of them.
They're buying more. Okay,
Okay, we got
we
another
have
one
another
here.
one from CleanTechnica.
BMW and Solid Power is the name of a company.
Yep.
To jointly develop solid-state batteries for electric vehicles.
This one is really interesting. Solid Power, developer of solid-state rechargeable batteries, announced that the BMW Group is partnering with it to develop its solid-state batteries for use in BMW's future electric models. BMW will assist Solid Power to develop its technology to achieve performance levels demanded by its customers.
These solid-state batteries do not have volatile or flammable components.
Yep.
And traditional lithium batteries contain liquid electrolytes. So
Yeah.
there's no liquid in these
Yeah.
batteries.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Our next item is from CleanTechnica.
Well, we're running close to the end, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll probably be okay.
Seawater and scrap metal could sequester 850 million tons of carbon dioxide. And we got a picture coming up.
Yep.
And that's not a light fixture, that's a crystal.
Researchers at the University of York in the UK are putting forward the idea that they could capture almost 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide a year at a relatively low cost and turn it into the mineral dawsonite, which is chemically sodium aluminum carbonate hydroxide. Unfortunately, dawsonite has no practical uses.
Oh, somebody will figure out something
Oh,
for
by
it.
golly, they will. If you've got 1 billion tons of this stuff, they're going to figure all kinds of uses for it. They'll use it for jewelry, for crying out loud. Look at that.
I would figure they're going to grind it up and make rocks out of it or something.
Something.
Yeah.
You could use it
Well,
for
let's look at it again.
playground sand, probably.
They'll figure something
Yeah.
to do with it.
Okay, we're up to Wednesday, December 20th, and we've got
That's
an
our
item.
last day.
It's our last day, and we've only got 2 items and 6 minutes left.
6 minutes.
We've got an item from Mashable.
2017 will rank among the Earth's 5 warmest years. And by the way, there's a video on this website about an iceberg the size of Delaware breaking off of Antarctica.
Yeah.
It's only about a minute and a half, and it's informative.
This year will almost certainly rank as one of the planet's 5 warmest years on record, according to new data from NOAA and NASA. In fact, the top NASA climate scientist reported that 2017 is likely to be the 2nd warmest year on record, behind 2016, which in turn displaced 2015 from the top spot. So 2016 would be the warmest, 2017 would be the next warmest, and 2015 would be the 3rd warmest, and 2015 broke a record that was set in 2014, which broke a record that was set in 2010, which broke a record which was set in 2005, which broke a record which was set in 1998. And
Well,
of course, if you think about this, though, we're in a period of declining global temperatures because 2016 was warmer than 2015. So they're on their way down.
Okay, George, I got you. NOAA predicts that barring an unforeseen large-scale cold snap, this year will rank as the third warmest year.
This would have to be a worldwide cold snap.
Yeah.
What would cause that? Well, there are things that would. A large volcanic eruption could cause that.
Well, they're blaming this in part on El Nino.
Yes, El Nino made the whole world warmer, and it ended. So 2017 was a little bit cooler than 2016.
Well, what this article is saying, over time, global warming has caused both El Nino and La Nina years to become milder, making it more difficult to have a cooler than average year. In fact, the last cooler than average month on Earth was back in February of '85. Wow.
The last time we had a month that was cooler than average was in February of 1985.
That's what it said.
Okay. So, I didn't catch that, but we do have a picture here.
Let's move along here. We got a picture coming up here.
This is my brother Reed used to go to school in that area. It's very pretty down there.
Oh, that's Chattanooga.
Yeah, it's Chattanooga. And this, go ahead.
Utility regulators call for changes in PURPA. And we're going to find out what PURPA is.
I hope so. PV Magazine USA brought us this. We have seen the Clean Power Plan abandoned, a proposed coal and nuclear bailout, a tax overhaul and trade action under Section 201. Now we have to worry about reform of the Public Utilities Regulatory Power Act, that is PURPA, of 1978, a big driver of utility-scale solar in the United States.
I got a takeaway here is the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, NARUC, sent a letter to Federal Energy Regulating Commission, FERC, calling on the body to update PURPA to reflect what it describes.
Are you sure this is English? Go ahead.
To reflect what it describes as the new realities of the power system in the 21st century.
Yeah, which means you've got to stop solar, you've got to stop wind power, because if you don't, the coal mining interests are going to be utterly out of business. They're almost out of business now, and oil and natural gas are going to be continuing to go downhill.
What a shame.
Oh my gosh, I mean, okay.
Well, that's the last article we've got today. So
it is.
We got about a minute and a half to talk.
Well, the thing that I was going to say was, really, we should not be blaming conservatives for this, because
this isn't conservative logic.
No, it isn't. Just think about this for a minute. The things that are under attack, EPA, for example, that was created by Richard Nixon. I mean, Theodore Roosevelt brought us protections on federal lands, and that's under attack.
No, this is all about money. It's not about conservatism.
It's all about money, and it's a peculiar kind of conservatism that is utterly different from what any conservatives would have thought 35 years ago. And they would have rejected it altogether. No, I don't think you can. It's a so-called free market thing, which is
payback, baby.
It is related to conservatism the same way that the Soviet government under Stalin was related to socialism.
All right, I'll buy that. That's a good analogy.
Anyway, I think we can probably sign off at this point.
Well, we got 22 seconds left.
See you later, everybody.
Alligator.
Hope you come back next time.